Conjuring Last Rites. On September 5th.
Come down, everyone in your house! Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
The Conjuring Last Rites. Only in theaters September 5th. Rated R.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
Spending some time in Rhode Island after Newport Folk, so it's been really nice just kind of getting away from the city and just hanging out in the countryside here.
Yeah, so how would you sum up the Newport Folk Festival? Because we know about it as like Joni. We know like there have been events in the kind of distant past. Tell me about your relationship to the festival and like what it means to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up going. I saw so many of my favorite artists through like the late 2000s, 2010s. A lot of like new artists. Then I remember seeing Avett Brothers before they were really big there. Fleet Foxes when they were just kind of in the middle of launching their first few albums. So I kind of grew up knowing that it was like when the world dips down and pokes its head into Rhode Island, and I could see some people who are making amazing music. So as we've been starting to put music out and we got asked to go and play, I mean, it's like total bucket list type thing. Yeah. So really awesome to go there. And I was really struck by, well, one, how well the artists are treated and the positive energy from just everyone there. And the camaraderie with all the artists. Like it really feels like a community, not just like a gig, So I think the whole weekend today has a special vibe to it.
That's really cool. Were you growing up going to shows? Did you have some kind of entry points to like DIY venues and kind of bands that were passing through?
Yeah, I would say there was a I think by the time I was like show going age, I think the remnants of a really robust Providence scene weren't really around anymore. I think like in the 90s, there were a lot of venues, a lot of DIY venues. By the time I was coming up and putting bands together, there really wasn't much to do. That's part of why I moved to LA, was just to find that community of other writers and artists. But there were a few that like more DIY, especially in Boston when I was living there. Some really cool kind of like garage rock bands that I found really compelling and really good songwriting.
Yeah, quality. It's often, I grew up going to punk shows, and so that's where my head goes to, where those small DIY venues, it's like people who can make a good amount of noise and like a party, ultimately, somewhere where you can dance, stage dive, or maybe less aggressive dancing, but it's a place for that stuff.
Definitely, and where it's approachable, where you're standing next to the artist with red Solo cups, having a sip of beer, and then they're like, "All right, one sec, I gotta go play the set," and they just destroy. Where it's like, it feels like a community. It's not like backstage and green rooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I always liked that I could go to a show alone, but not really feel alone.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Did you go to shows by yourself?
Definitely in Boston. I was kind of a loner. Like I had my friends that went to a different college, my friends from high school, but they weren't really like music people. So I would kind of do my music thing and go off on my own to DIY house shows in Jamaica Plain and Brighton and these places outside of Boston, Allston. And you'd start seeing the same people at every show, like this, because the community really wasn't that big, but there were a lot of really amazing bands like Krill and Pile and Porches and Frankie Cosmos that were kind of all around at that time that have now like gotten bigger, and you see them releasing major label records and stuff. But it was cool to be there in those little dingy, smelly rooms with 10, 15 people.
Good fun. Were you studying? I know you did some stage school at some point. Was that when you were doing it in Boston? Were you doing stage school there?
I was doing, I studied music there. I studied songwriting at Berkeley.
Okay. What was that like? You know, it's the idea. To me, it seems a bit of a paradox to sit someone down and say, write a song. You know, a song is a bit like life, everyday life, right? So what was your
Totally.
what was your trip there?
Well, I think because I've been writing songs since I was 13 or so, and I'm more attracted to like freak folk and like just outsider music. And I think I had teachers that were good enough there to recognize that I wasn't for the like cookie cutter pop that they were kind of breeding there, and they kind of told me like, you're fine doing what you're doing, like, so it was good to like learn some of the mechanics by studying pop songs and breaking down harmony, advanced harmony, and like learning the science behind crafting a song like a piece of furniture, like learning about balance and weight and motion, and every word is packed with energy, so, or it's a chance to pack with energy. So it was cool to kind of like break it down like a science, but then also at the same time have teachers be like, don't change what you're doing, like still be outsider, you still hold on to that freak flag, like don't homogenize.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way of putting it when you talk about it's like building a piece of furniture where it has balance. And it makes me think that there's a few parts on Got a New Car where it's like the last line of that verse sort of comes into the first line of the next verse or the chorus, and it's a bit of like a magic changing room scenario. You know what I mean? It kind of carries on the momentum but goes into a different melody.
Yeah, I think Got a New Car is a great example of what I really love, and kind of the work I did at Berkeley, like breaking down poetry and Shakespeare's iambic pentameter and all the substitutions, and realizing he's talking to your subconscious on like 4 levels. So that Got a New Car is really me like baking in, like every syllable has energy that I've put in, and it's referencing itself in 3 or 4 different ways, and it's like a web of association where like every word we say pings certain associations and things based on our shared culture and shared kind of, just whatever's going on in our consciousness. So I'm playing with that and kind of setting up expectations, going one way, going another, but always trying to be relevant to my feelings.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, 101 part-time jobs. Talk about having so many jobs go into writing a song.
Totally.
And the work,
I mean,
the work of it.
Right. Every day of your life is like another drop in your bucket, builds the prism of your experience that the light goes through, and colors it your own way. So it's always, especially songwriters, I mean, we're just telling stories, or like we're using language, which is just so colored by our experience and all the jobs and the ways you have to spend your time and the roles and masks you have to wear. It all goes into how you see the world and interact with people.
It's like the Slumdog Millionaire of songwriting.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a sick movie. I haven't thought about that movie. That's awesome. Yeah.
You've got a great story over the last few years, and I don't know if we should start now and go backwards, or start from kind of when your life changed. Let's do the latter. I mean, your life changed when you were working for your stepdad in a dog training home. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a dog training company, and they would build fences to keep people's dogs in their yard and then train them. And there was like obedience training, but I just worked in the office. Like I was just, I basically, it was the pandemic, and I just was looking for a way to save money. And I had worked for him when I was like a kid in high school, and he was no longer with my mom, but I saw him at a party and was like, I mean, any chance you have a job, like I'm just kind of sitting around doing nothing. Like I could sit around and do nothing at your office and you could pay me. And he needed some help. And I was so, because I had anxiety around phones. And since then I've had so many jobs, like literally just phone jobs. So I kind of blew that out of the water, which is great. And I recommend to anybody with anxiety like that. But I was like, I'll go in
Exposure
the office,
therapy.
but I won't answer the phones. Yeah, totally. I was like, I'll go to your office, but I can't do phones, which is like classic, like boss's son crap, like, but, it was good to just get me out of the house and I could save money and go, save up money to move to LA.
Mm-hmm. And you're in your late 20s at this point, and I think that's like reflective of our generation. I'm in my early to mid 30s, but really, I mean, take away COVID time and take away, factor in, I mean, the kind of economic considerations that we have in our generation that our parents didn't face in the 70s and 80s when they were our age. Being
Right.
34 is sort of the equivalent of being 25 now. So I feel like when 29 sounds old to be doing a sort of job like that where you're just trying to get through to the weekend and maybe drink some beers and hang out with your friends. I mean, actually, that's what I want to do when I'm 55 as well. But 29 seems old, but actually, like that's pretty normal age to kind of be at that stage in your life now.
Yeah, I think we're probably a little bit stunted, by also, I think college was just expected of a lot of people. And I just was somebody that didn't really find, I don't know, I just feel like I wasn't aligned for normal jobs or normal pursuits. And I've always been like a slow, like I need to be really comfortable before I get into something. I don't know. So I just kind of took my time and needed to make it clear to myself that I needed to actually try, which means being vulnerable and means taking risk. And that was the best thing I ever did was move to LA and leave everybody and everything I knew and go to a place I'd never been before, just because there was more vibrant music community and opportunity.
And that story in itself is good. Didn't you kind of apply for a job on a whim, maybe expanded, let's say, your qualifications, and you got the job, and within a couple of weeks you were moving out to LA to work for like an estate company, is that right?
Totally. It was like a property management recruiting firm, and they were doing, it was a covering for a maternity leave, and I saw an ad on Craigslist, and I knew that some of my best friends who I was playing like Xbox with, I was like playing Fortnite with my friends, and I knew that they had this job. And I was like, just like share your screen with me and let me look at your workflow programs and just like describe to me what you do every day. And then I went into the interview like knowing all the terms of like the industry, and I had one of my recruiter friends build my resume, which is like all the job is just helping people build resumes. So I kind of aced the interview, and they were like, well, can you be here in 2 weeks? And I was like, oh shit. I kind of like fibbed that I had a college degree in songwriting, which like, you don't need me to have a college degree in songwriting to do a job. Like you need me to be able to have a conversation and write paragraphs, like write an email and build a resume, which I could do. So I just blagged it, and it worked out. Kept the lights on for 3 years until I signed a record deal.
Brilliant. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a huge supporter. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's a big lesson about work, is that if you can just be like a person that can have a conversation and write an email, you can do like probably 80% of jobs.
Yeah, right on. And I think people get so lost in that when studying or like, I mean, now so many people are applying for 200 jobs and like not getting one. It's kind of mad. It's a mad world out there.
Crazy.
When you moved to LA, you had songs, so you were writing some kind of quieter stuff, like some kind of like Nick Drake stuff to begin with, like during college, like Elliott Smith style. style tunes. Is that right? When did that? Can you chart when that started to change and when you started to find the kind of, I mean, Nick Drake and Elliott Smith have soul, but I suppose a different kind of soul that you found.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always written kind of in a lot of different styles, and I think through my 20s and late 20s, I was just so gravitated towards that kind of like mysterious, depressed songwriter, like archetype, where I was kind of aping that. And I think in your first creative steps, you do kind of ape what's around you and what you're really drawn to. Like for years in high school, I just wrote Fleet Foxes songs, like and me and my band would just sing in 3-part harmony and do Fleet Foxes songs, like not actually, but like our versions or whatever. And then you kind of evolve and change, and I was just kind of collecting all these pieces of things to synthesize something that was uniquely me and also felt familiar. And I think being in LA and doing open mics, I would do Roy Orbison's Crying, and then it would be like everybody would freak out, and somebody told me like, you got to do that, like you got. And I think my grandmother told me too. She was like, you got to write songs like that. You have to write songs that are worthy of a voice like that. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of wearing different masks to see what suited me, and then until I could build my own.
Was there an element of like, because people were telling you, your grandma was telling you, did you have a part of inside of you where it's like, it's too easy just to sort of follow the simple advice? Did it feel too easy to kind of continue that way? Did you hesitate to do that for a minute?
Like hesitate to sing with that voice and write songs like that, or?
Yeah, to do what like maybe felt right for you, because I mean we do have that thing as humans. Like sometimes we don't go the way that makes the most sense right away.
Totally, and I yeah, I don't know. I think a big part of what's making the project work is kind of the disillusion of my self involvement in it. Like I feel like for a long time I was writing songs to show how clever I was, or to show like nobody would ever write this type of change, or like Nick Drake is so unattainable because nobody can play guitar like that, like. And once I kind of reframed it around, well, what I'm doing is entertainment. What I'm doing, like, it's not just about making myself feel good, though that's a great arrow to follow. Like I my best weapon as a creative is, and my best tool is that whatever makes me vibrate inside. Like, and I should always follow that. But also, I'm so alike to what frees me about music frees everybody else in the audience about music too. And so if I write and create to serve them, and I'm serving myself more that way than trying to be clever or trying to set myself apart or be unattainable. I think that shared experience of all just feeling joy and just ceasing our active mind for a second to share an experience, that's the art. The art is the experience that the person has inside themselves, not the song.
Love it, and I get that from the YouTube videos. I missed you when you were in London, which is annoying, but a friend was like, "This is so good." Our producer of the show, Olivia, was like, "That was so good," and so I went to check it out on YouTube. And there's that live performance of "Help Me Out," I think, that's recorded in LA, and it gives off your feeling so much. It feels like you're in the room. Like, I mean, I love dancing with my mum. I'm stoked that I'm such good friends with my mum, and she kind of dances with her hands like that, when we like listen to Elton John or something, and I'm like, that's what my mum would do in that room. I could see what me and my friends and family would do in that room to the music.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it's people have brought up the hand motions and stuff, but that it's just when I let go of my mind, it's what happens, and that's the best when you're dancing with your friends and family, when you don't think about what do I look like right now, or what do they like. It's just freedom, it's pure, it's joy, and it's it's sensuous to move your body with music and to experience something real. It's like real human magic that makes us feel good.
Yeah, dancing is ace, isn't it? I mean, I know when I'm in a free spot because I'm not thinking about where I'm looking. I think that's the tell for me. If you dance but you're not thinking about where you're looking, that's a good one.
Totally. Yeah, it's so freeing, just and it's so fun to watch somebody just be totally free like that and move their body, and with the music it becomes an instrument, becomes visual art too. I'm not a very good dancer, but I appreciate really good dancers and movement art. I think it's another great way of binding being with music.
Yeah, yeah, and you've released these handful of songs. I read that you have recorded like a album's worth of songs. Is that the job now to like think about what you have? And I mean, I imagine you've got a plan since you signed to Rough Trade, which is amazing.
Thank you.
That's the job now? Is kind of looking at those songs and following the plan.
Yeah, it's starting to put music out, make sure that I mean, I've been very blessed to be able to have the visual component as well, and start creating a world. I live with my best friends are filmmakers, so we it's always in the house. It's always just planning how we want to make the visuals match the songs and build out the world, and yeah, we're just kind of seeing what we have and seeing what makes sense to keep putting out. And I'm always writing, so it's just kind of a never-ending backlog of a couple hundred songs.
Yeah, quality. And are you working since you got the record deal? I guess that we live in quite a transparent world now when it comes to, you always read about how much money people's make. I'm not going to ask you that, but it's interesting like to see like who's working jobs still, or who's not, who's in a position where you don't need to. I suppose you're one person, which I imagine helps.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, my job is now touring, and playing shows and being able to be in a position to take tours. And I have amazing agents that help get us opening slots, and we're kind of on the road, kind of in that beginning stages of career, just hand to hand combat, with audiences that have no clue who I am, and we're just trying to win them over with the songs and the performance. And I look at that as like it's worth a lifetime of devotion to as a crafts person, like having that human experience together is what it's all about. And in a way, even though I love the Beatles and like obsessed with being a recording artist, what's real magic is the live right now. As I look at it, being able to have that experience, like losing yourself in a dance, losing yourself in performing and watching a performance.
And that must require some resilience as well, because if it was special every night, you wouldn't have those special nights, right? There will be those shows where like that was fine. So
yeah,
how do you get through those? How do you get through those ones?
Yeah, I struggle. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure to try to be in that meditative state where I'm always pulling back to zero, always pulling back to living in the right now and connecting and living my expression in a way that's compelling enough where it's as if I'm extemporaneously speaking from my soul, and it's just what I'm saying, like that. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to get it right every night. And of course, like you said, I mean, the monitor doesn't work, the one band member makes a flub, or we're late to the sound check and we get a line check, or the room is not made for music, or the crowd isn't feeling it and they're really chatty because it's too big of a room. So it's kind of one of my new like occupational hazards, if like I need to get better at pulling back to neutral, and how do I master those obstacles, and also how do I just be okay with having an off night and just having grace for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And saying that, what are the really special shows that have happened in the last few months? There must have been one or two that you'll remember for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newport was like a crazy bucket list experience, and because I moved away like 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of my family and friends haven't seen me perform and kind of just seen clips on Instagram, and it doesn't really do it justice. The band is so incredible, and just like what we're trying to do. So to see my family like front and center at Newport with a few hundred people, then a few thousand people around that, um, it was I couldn't look at it. It was getting emotional, you know. It was just like, and they were all just a wreck, you know, just crying, coming up to me after, like, didn't realize what they were walking into. So that was really powerful. I remember that forever. And then yeah, that London show was really special. Playing our first headline show outside of LA, and it was a full room, and the sound was incredible, and everybody
The
was locked in
Social
with
is a
us.
really great venue. It's
Yeah,
a really cool venue.
well, because you walk in and it's like it's such like a basement, and you're like, oh man, what is this? What do we get ourselves into? And then the sound was like maybe the best we'd ever sounded.
I've
And
had a
so we
religious
gave it.
experience in there.
Oh,
I
really?
like stood up against the back wall. We were seeing this rock and roll band, my partner and I, and the sound was just, it was like better than record, you know? And I think the
Yeah.
sound guy there is called Tool Paul. He's the tool man with the
Mhm.
grey hair and glasses. I don't know what
Yeah.
he does, but he's got the magic button. He's got the silver bullet.
He was really, he cared about what he did, and showed care and love for the music and material. And it's like a good lesson when you run into those types of people out on the road, where they don't know who's coming in that night. They don't know what it sounds like. They might listen in the car on the way over. But he just cared, and we've been blessed with a lot of great sound people that are house engineers that, I think too, because maybe our music skews to a certain age group, and it's kind of like that analog sound, that it's like a bit exciting for them to, it's like something that they grew up on and can kind of pay homage to. When I ask for like a Roy Orbison or like an Elvis or John Lennon slapback, they know what it is, and they're not giving me like Trey Anastasio reverb echo, you know, like sometimes that happens. But I mean, we've had some really amazing shows, and we have some shows coming up too. I'm playing in London again in a couple of weeks, so I'm really looking forward to getting back out on the road.
I've got one more question just to round off. I'm a big fan of, well, first of all, I mean, people playing music, a lot of people have part-time jobs. A lot of people have jobs they don't really, their head's not at, because they're rather interested in making music or making art and doing, rather than making money for someone else at the bar or wherever. And I think what comes from those situations is you end up, if you're that person working those jobs, you can end up fucking things up and causing your boss a lot of money, causing some people some emotional rot or pain. I wondered if you got any work fails, work gaffes in your canon, in your past.
I do. I was one of my first jobs. I had just left the first college I'd gone to, because I knew it wasn't for me. I had moved home, and my parents were like, "You got to get a job," you know. So I had like a family friend who knew somebody who worked at it was a parking, like a valet.
Yeah.
Company.
That's a smart business,
And
by the way.
so it's like, yeah, it's cash.
Yeah.
And it's it was good. You stay on your feet, you're running around, you're driving different cars, and it was in downtown Providence, Rhode Island, and there are these things called water fire nights, which is just like chaotic. Just everybody goes down to the river. It's like people everywhere you look, and you're trying to drive cars through. It takes you 40 minutes just to drive the 2 blocks from the garage to the place. And it was like one of those nights, really hectic. I also didn't know how to drive a stick shift. So when it would be a stick shift, I would just like put it in first gear and then just like go until it's stalled, and then just like roll it into the plate. Like it was just kind of like hell or high water, get the stuff there. And there was this one time, this large truck was parked in a place where it wasn't supposed to, like too close to the exit, and I should have driven it out the other way, backed it up, turned it around, and came back. But I tried to just take the direct turn out of the garage. It goes up on its side, and I was like, all right, I'll pull forward. I come down and up against the post, like the steel girder post, and it's a brand new, probably like $60,000 truck, and I pull out and scrape the whole side in, like literally like cave in the whole side of this extremely expensive truck. And I'm like 19 or something, and I drive. I'm like, what do I do? They're like, you gotta go drive it back to the owner. So I pull up to the steakhouse, and give this like Texas oil man his car back. And his wife was so mad, she could have killed me with a look. Like she could not understand how from driving 2 blocks I had like totaled this car. And the guy was cool. He was like, that's what insurance is for, and they called the police, and I had to talk to the police, and they knew I was just some kid running around in this like hectic thing. So, but my boss was like, well, we're insured for $2 million. So
yeah, that's good. That's what insurance is for. He's right.
Right. Yeah, totally. But oh my gosh, not for me. Jobs aren't for me. I hate to say it.
Cheers for watching. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and all podcast apps. We've done interviews with Aurora, Kneecap, Idols, Lauren Maybury of Churches, and loads more. So tap into 101 Part-Time Jobs on Spotify, Apple, and all podcast apps. Welcome along to 101 Part-Time Jobs. Every single one of our episodes is available ad-free at our Patreon, patreon.com/101 Part-Time Jobs. I know that there are all these messages trying to sell you things that you may or may not want. So for £4 a month, that's around $5.50 US, you can get over 450 of our episodes and every single one in the future, featuring all the brilliant guests that we have week in, week out, completely ad-free. You can head to patreon.com/101 Part-Time Jobs, get all your episodes bother free, and you support us directly. Cheers.